Razorback fans. Welcome to the weekly Women's Sports Report, presented to you by Fordham Distillery and powered by Hot Works in Springdale, Arkansas. And I have made my return back from Greenville, South Carolina. I spent a whole week out there, visited family and covering the 2023 SEC Women's Tournament. And first and foremost, really want to give a shout out to Picture Nation for letting me be a part of their broadcast and doing their content and covering the teams for them. So I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And I know it didn't really go the way things should have went this season. I know the season didn't really go the way we thought it was in the preseason with all the expectations with this team, but they ended up going up against Missouri in the first game. And I'm telling you what, up until 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, we didn't know what was going to happen. Missouri just came to play. Frank, I mean, you got to realize that even though you're playing lower seeded teams, Missouri is a team that they're winning and then they're going home. There's no chances of an NI, I know there's a chance of the WNIT, but they know that their NCAA title hopes are shot. So they're going to give it all in this for the last time they're going to play in the SEC Women's Tournament. They've always played Arkansas tough in the tournament, and that's what happened. And with 5:41 left in the fourth quarter, Coach Neighbors called a timeout. Something was said in that huddle. I was sitting beside Ethan Westerman of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and my good buddy Tyler Butler, which if you haven't followed him, he did some amazing content for the SEC Women's Tournament out there, took some really good pictures of the Arkansas players, staff, and has even been featured on ESPN with his pictures of the coverage out there and his crew with Daisha, his wife, Tanya. So it was really good to get to visit with them. But they caught fire in the fourth, went on a 16-0 run, ended up coming from behind and beating Missouri 85-74. And then, of course, with that comes the daunting task of trying to play South Carolina. And let me tell you what, this is the first time that I've got to see this team up close, and they're the real deal. They're the overall best team in the country. I watched the LSU game. South Carolina is every bit of better than LSU. It's not even close. I mean, and I would even go close to saying that South Carolina's second team with Aaliyah Boston, and they could be the national champions. That's just how tall these girls are. I mean, 6'4", 6'5", length, they turn around and they're right there at the basket. Guarding them for 4 quarters and playing successful and beating them, you would have to have 2 Chrissy Carr performances in the Missouri game to beat them. You can't let up. You've seen Tennessee hung with them, and then all of a sudden they're up 10. That's what South Carolina will do to you. They'll just suffocate you, wait on you to wear out, and then they take the game over. I will say that, they did run away with the game in the fourth quarter, but Arkansas, other than just not shooting the ball well, I mean, there's nothing much you can do when it comes to the inside game. You got 4 girls, 6'5", 6'6", and just the length that they had was incredible to see. And I know you watch it on TV and you see these things, but seeing these two teams live was just incredible. It was an incredible experience being able to go out there for the full tournament and be there in Greenville. It will be out there for the next 2 years. So hopefully we can make this a yearly occasion while the tournament's out there in Greenville, South Carolina. But they ended up going down to South Carolina in the second game, and now we await the hopes. We await the it's going to come up to the committee. I mean, it's hard because you want to see them go to the NCAA tournament. You want to see them play in the big dance and hopefully get that that daunted win that they've been waiting for. I wouldn't be surprised if they did make it, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, because if you're looking from this on the outside in and taking the Arkansas camp side out of it, I could see why they wouldn't. They're sitting on that second last 4 out as of right now. It's going to take some help from some other bubble teams, But as of right now, if I were to think the committee was picking right now, I would say that they were going with the WNIT. But there was a time where we thought Arkansas was for sure going in, and they chose Tennessee over Arkansas. So, I mean, it's happened to Arkansas where they really thought they were getting in, they didn't get chosen. So, hopefully, this year, they're sitting firmly on the bubble and they'll get chosen. But all in all, it comes down to they knew that they should have gotten at least one more of these wins in the regular season. The debacle against Ole Miss, the games against Vandy, games they knew they should have won, that they wouldn't be in this predicament. So that's where you also have to look at when it comes to, you don't want to put, and that's what I was telling Ethan and telling Tyler, you don't want to enter into an SEC tournament. It's almost similar to the guys' situation. They're a lock, but they're sitting at a 10 seed. You don't want to go into a SEC tournament format and depending that being a big part of how you're seeding, or do you get in or not. So Cream was saying during the game, South Carolina, they needed to win that game to get in. And of course they did it. So we will see, how things play out. It will be this upcoming Sunday at 8, I believe Central is when they have the selection show. So we'll see their fate. Hopefully they get chosen to go to the NCAA tournament. But again, if they don't, I know it would be a disappointment that they didn't, but good thing is they'll be hosting, so you'll get to watch them play some more in Bud Walton Arena for the WNIT until they have to go to wherever the finals are at. But we'll move on, and I didn't get to catch a lot of the softball while I was away. That's another thing. When you're covering a whole tournament like this, you're not just covering the Arkansas team, but you're covering the other teams. And then, of course, throw family time in there, because with my family side, dad's side of the family in South Carolina, you really didn't have much time to break away from there. But the Arkansas Razorbacks played in the Woo Pig Classic, going a perfect 6-0, beating Iowa State 4-0 and 7-4. You defeat Texas A&M Corpus Christi 11-0 and 12-0, and both in 5 innings. And then you beat Texas on Sunday 11-1. And then last night on a Monday, on a rare Monday game, you played UCA, lost 2-1. But I'll tell you this, UCA is no slouch. UCA is a very good squad. I'm not saying that just to make this. If you got beat by Arizona, you don't want to lose any games. It's just how good Arkansas is. But we can't sit here and say that, well, it's Central Arkansas. They have no business playing Arkansas. Yes, they do. I mean, they've beaten Georgia. They've beaten LSU. They played LSU to a 1-0 game this year. So we knew it was going to happen. I said that last night after the game. These are these spots. Coach Neighbors has said it. When you're playing these in-state schools, that target on your back's big, and those smaller schools want to beat you. They want to say, hey, we beat Big Brother. We beat the top school in our state. And the recruiting and the talent they have at UCA goes to show that the talent that's in Arkansas and the talent they can get from surrounding states to come play for UCA. They made it to the big dance last year, made it to the regionals last year. So this team, when we look back and they win their conference, we're not going to be surprised, because this is a very good team. So I really want to tip my hat to UCA for defeating Arkansas, opposed to looking at this as a horrible win, because I know there was some people out there who was like, well, this should never happen. I mean, you don't want to lose, but you're acting like UCA is a chump or a slouch. Can't this team's tough. We've watched them play. They've played Arkansas tough every single time they've played. But the bad thing about that is you got to just quickly brush that off your shoulders, because you got number 25 Texas A&M coming into town Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you can see Friday's game, SEC Network Plus. Saturday's game at 7 p.m. you can see on the SEC Network. And then Sunday's game at 1 p.m. will be on the SEC Network Plus. So you'll be able to see the Saturday game on regular programming, but then you'll have to stream the other two. So, but with that also being said, you have Reagan Kramer, SEC Player of the Year or the Week. It was awarded SEC Player of the Week this week for her incredible performance over the weekend. I want to say she hit 5 home runs over the weekend, and yeah, hit 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, and 19 total bases over the weekend. Matched her career high in RBIs twice and registering RBIs against Iowa State, North Texas, and she also met her career high in hits in 3 different outings with 2. So it's you're getting these players to step up and play together strong. And of course, again, you can't let a game like last night's get to you. It was 2-1 game, so it ain't like the defense was bad. I mean, Shanice Ellis was just killing it last night. They just couldn't get the hits. I mean, sometimes the bats just doesn't go your way, and in Central Arkansas, or the other team just gets enough hits to win the game. So there's nothing to be alarmed about. There's nothing that we're going to look back 2 months down the road. Well, we've seen some red flags in the UCA game. You can't take that for anything that it was worth on that. But moving on to soccer, they announced today that they are going to have 5 spring matches that this spring, starting with they will start with Missouri on March 11th in Columbia. Then they'll return to Razorback Field for the first. These are all home exhibitions and away exhibitions. So this does not go on their SEC record or NCAA record. These are just exhibition games that you can see, and I doubt that any of these will be televised. So the first time they'll play at home, they'll play at Razorback Field against Kansas State on April 2nd at noon. And they played last year in Manhattan. And then they will go to Razorbacks return for a late night match against Oral Roberts at 8 p.m. on April the 7th. Then they'll go to Norman, Oklahoma on April 15th. And then the last one, the squad will finish out the schedule and face Illinois in St. Louis, Missouri on April 23rd at 5 p.m. Both home matches will be free and open to the public. So it won't be on TV, but there will be no charge. Free to the public to come watch the games. So come out and watch. This will be April 2nd at noon and April 7th at 8 p.m. So come check them out. See what the new team's going to be about. Another restacked squad for Colby Hale and his team. It's really amazing. I sit in on practice and just how he watches and commands this team and what he expects out of his team. When they come to Arkansas, they know they're going to be the best playing against the best. And he's got that Nick Saban kind of mentality of, I demand greatness out of my team. I demand 100% in every practice, because in a sport like soccer, you're running nonstop. There's hardly any timeouts. There's nothing. So you need to give it your all every time you're out there. And he does. He demands that excellence. And I really respect him for that. And it's going to be really cool to see this team, see what they're about. Also, they come to find out that the track and field team, they're still ranked 3rd in the country. The men's team's ranked 1st. Again, it's just it's been a stellar year for the track and field team again, winning, going back to back SEC champions. And I don't remember who it was, but someone just was like, when are they going to win their next national championship? I'm like, they've won more national championships than any program in the country at any sport. But that just shows you there's some of those fans out there who don't pay attention to these teams or these programs, and they just see SEC championship and they want more. And when you're going at the track program, when it comes to success, that shows you don't watch Arkansas sports at all. If you're coming over the top, most successful program, one of the most successful programs in the country of all time, and you're demanding more from them, that just shows that the lack of attention that you pay when it comes to actually watching them. So tennis team, they fell to Tennessee over the weekend, 4-1. So again, when we had Coach Sanchez on there, they'll play the doubles. They get a single point for the doubles, and then they go head to head. So they'll play the singles as a group. They'll get a single point for that group, and then they move to the singles play. So Razorbacks are 6-4 overall in the dual season and 0-1 in league play, of course, with their game against Georgia. Up next, they will play number 2 Texas A&M away, and which is crazy because that is where Coach Sanchez come from. So it'll be a return home for her, and then they'll play LSU on March 12th. They'll be back Friday, March 17th against Ole Miss. So you'll have a chance to see them on the 17th, 10 days from now, at 4 p.m. So if that's another thing that you haven't really got to catch up on or talk about or go see, free to get in, go inside the stadium. Excuse me. And if you don't know where the facilities are, if you're going up to Razorback Football Stadium, before you get there, where the intramural fields are on the left is the tennis complex. So be sure to go by and stop by, catch a match, support the team. And that will be on Friday, March 17th against Ole Miss. And then the women's golf team, they're up next, and they went to the Darius Rucker Intercollegiate out in South Carolina. And after the second round, Mystery was leading the Razorbacks in the second round, and then things didn't kind of finish the way. They had a tough day on the course, ending the day in 17th place with a 52 over, and they finished 6 strokes behind 16th place Furman and shot 16 over on the day. LSU ended up winning the tournament with a 6 over. So they were 16 shots over from the lead. Cahal Mystery led the Razorbacks with a 10 over, and the senior ran into troubles on a pair of holes, but come up with 4 big birdies and 10 pars to log a 3 over 74, and she tied for 49th in the field of 90. So again, just seemed like a little rough day when it comes to the golf in the Darius Rucker Intercollegiate in Hilton Head, which for those my age, I would really like to be called the Hootie and Blowfish Intercollegiate. So, it's just if you know, if you know. But up next for the golf, they will play in, let's see. They play in the Mountain View Collegiate. They play the 17th and 18th and 19th in Tucson, Arizona. So again, that will be in 10 days. They'll head out to Arizona to play in the Mountain View Collegiate. Then the following weekend, they have the Georgia Liz Murphy Collegiate Classic, and then that will be followed up by the SEC Women Golf Championship in Birmingham, Alabama in April. So that's coming up. Their season's coming up to a quick end there. And then the NCAA regionals will be May 8th, and then the NCAA championships will be held in Scottsdale, Arizona, May 19th through the 24th. So there's plenty of action going on in the world of sports for Arkansas. Gymnastics squad had their win over Georgia, getting a very well much needed SEC win, and they ended up beating the Bulldogs. They were the number 17th, and Georgia come in on the day ranked 18th. So they ended up beating Georgia 197.15 to 196.875. So it was a very good day for them. And against Georgia, they ended up getting a 49-1 on the vault, 49-4 on the bar, beam 49-2, and 49-3, 2-5 on floor. So again, 49s across the board for the gymnastics team. And I know there for a few times they've really struggled on the beam. So for them to get 49s across the board for the vault, bars, beam, and floor, Nora Flatley got a 39.55 on the all around. So very proud of the Arkansas gymnastics team for getting the win over Georgia. That moves them to 4-7 overall, 2-5. But again, those scores, you take all your individuals, and it's more of getting the teams to qualify for the NCAAs over, really trying to. You want to win the meet and the matches, but really getting your team and your star standout athletes to get better and better at their meets and get them qualified for the NCAA tournament. That's your main goal when it comes. But they have Minnesota Bud Walton Arena coming up this Friday, so another explosive. When you get your fans out there, we seen what they did the last time they played in or they competed inside Bud Walton Arena. So they will be going up against Minnesota March 10th. That will be on SEC Network Plus. That starts at 6:45. If you can't get in or can't get out to watch it, you can stream it. But I really highly encourage you to go out to Bud Walton Arena this weekend and catch them in their last home meet, because they head to Duluth, Georgia for the SEC Championships Saturday, March 18th. They have the NCAA regionals and the regional final the 29th. It will be either in Denver, Los Angeles, Norman, or Pittsburgh. And the NCAA Gymnastics Championships will be held in Fort Worth, Texas on Thursday, April 13th. So this will be their last regular season meet on the 10th. So been a very good season. Again, it's been a weird season, but it's really been a good season for the gymnastics team. And they have really improved throughout the year in this season, especially with overcoming their beam woes from the beginning of the year. So it's really good to see them improve on the beam, all around, floor, bars, vault, which is one of my favorite when I watch the Olympics and stuff. That is my favorite event when it comes to the gymnastics. But we'll go back to basketball to wrap things up, and just seeing how this thing kind of played out this season and the expectations and where they are at. They finished in the same spot, and there's games where they lost that they should have won. Of course, there's times where they're playing down the stretch. You just couldn't really defend how they were playing, and because you knew their potential, you knew their talent. It's almost exactly like the men's team. All the talent, you thought they were legit going to be a number 1, 2 seed when it come to the SEC tournament. And now they're sitting kind of in the same predicament, 10 seed. Arkansas was the 8 seed. So, you're right there in the same spot as the men, the expectations. So hopefully we can see some grace from the committee, see just how tough this league is. You've seen Tennessee hang with South Carolina. They beat LSU the night before. LSU's talented Alexis Morris and Angel Reese. You got Horston and Rakia Jackson at Tennessee. And then, of course, Ole Miss with Baker. And then you had Davis, who was with Arkansas last year. So there was a lot of talent in this league. Alabama had some great talent, had a good run this season. So to me, you can't excuse finishing the way they did, but you can see why, just how tough this league has gotten. You beat LSU last year, you beat Tennessee last year, and then they get to where they're in the top 4. You had success against Ole Miss. They got tougher. Yeah, they surpassed the expectation that you thought Arkansas had, but that's what happens when you play in this league. But I'll say this. You could compare what happened on January 19th, and then you turn around 3 days later on the 22nd, and you play at LSU, then you play at South Carolina. We can go back to that moment and look at the season on how it unfolded, and you play LSU tough to the wire, 79-76, had a chance to tie the game to send it in overtime. And then you go run into a buzzsaw and get out rebounded by 50 something to South Carolina, the clear number one team in the country. And what that does to you as a team playing them on 3 days, it would just be like you play Alabama on a Thursday and then you turn around and play Georgia on a Sunday. That's what it does to your team and what it does to you physically, mentally. And then 4 days later, you have to hopefully try to bounce back and play Alabama on the 26th, which they played in Bud Walton Arena and lost 69-66 on that game. Then, of course, the debacle of Ole Miss was on the 29th, where you're up 32-19 at the half, and then they come back and won in overtime. You get the win over Auburn. All right, here comes the bounce back, and then you play at Vanderbilt, which, of course, Shea Ralph, what she's done in Vanderbilt in her 2 years there has been incredible. You lose 78-70 there, get a win over Missouri, and then Tennessee just beat you by 20. And at that point, that's where that 3-game skid starts to end the season. You go to Georgia, just get out rebounded, outplayed. Mississippi State, out rebounded, outplayed, and you finish off the year at home on senior night, 78-65 win over Texas A&M. So you see some life there, and to the outside looking in, it could be a little too late, but I hope they get in. I hope they get to make the tournament, have some vengeance, get Mike that first tournament win that he deserves, and we move on to next year, because next year, other than Carr and Hughes, you bring everybody back. So they're going to have that along with Marion Archer. You're going to have Jenna Lawrence. You're going to have Talia Scott. This team, I'll tell you what, the incoming class next year, you got a bunch of dogs in there, and I think they're going to come in hungry, ready to win, ready to play, and this is going to be a totally different team than what you see. and Marion is already on campus. She's been on campus since the start of the semester, so she's been in the system already. Can't wait to see what these teams do, and just what this new class is going to do for this team with already, you got Matt coming back, Barnum coming back. So you're going to add a little bit of size with Lawrence and then add another guard, salty guard, and Talia Scott, which everything I've heard, she's going to be the truth, and she's going to be potentially could be one of the best players to ever come into Arkansas and play. And I'm excited to watch her play. I'm excited to watch this whole team play next year and hopefully get to that point to where they play up their expectations. They play and get the crowds back. I mean, the crowds never really faltered much when it comes to coming and supporting the team. And that's the best thing you can think about. They've not given up on the team. The fans, best fans in the country by far. We've seen that in all the sports. So, but again, excited about this. And before we wrap up, again, powered by HotWorks, Bet Online, Fordham Distillery. We have partnered up with our new partner in Hillbilly Realty in Ozark, Arkansas, as well as Healthy Harbor Nutrition in Springdale in Harbor Meadows. So I will bring the HotWorks bag over to Healthy Harbor Nutrition over on 412 in Tawnytown. So if you're over there and need a little energy drink, need a protein shake, go see Hobbs and the crew there at Healthy Harbor Nutrition. I'll have the giveaway bag. We're going to put it on the 3 locations there in Springdale with the trainer's table. We are going to put it there at HotWorks in Springdale, as well as the Healthy Harbor Nutrition. And we're going to get some people in the doors, put your name in the plates, and then we're going to have a big giveaway at the end of the month. So if you want a free membership to HotWorks for a month, if you want to have a $25 gift certificate from Healthy Harbor Nutrition, backpack full of HotWorks goodies, then we will definitely be giving that away live on broadcast at the end of the month. But that will do it for this episode. Next week, we are going to be all about the softball coverage in their matchup with Texas A&M. Hopefully have a softball-related guest on. We're trying to lock that down for next week. So that will do it for this episode of the Weekly Women's Sports Resort, presented to you by Fordham Distillery, powered by HotWorks, and we will catch you on Sunday.